Good day, I'm Terry Difazio, and you're watching Dial It Up. Today on our show, we have invited Faith Lucas. It's good to have you on, Faith.
Nice to be on.
You know, everyone out there might remember you from your days at IROC, but now you have a new position, and can you please explain that to us?
Yes, I'm working as a library assistant at Lake Region Union High School. I am currently working on getting my certification for becoming a librarian. A position has opened up, and I'm just working toward improving myself by getting the certification. There are 6 classes that you would take in a sequence, and those classes I take at UVM. And
oh, UVM, okay.
So you would take those at UVM. You take 1 per semester, so you take 1 in the summer, 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring.
And do you have to drive all the way over there, or it's online, or how do you do those, Faith?
So they're called hybrid classes, and those classes are the first and last class are at UVM. There are 3 classes that are held at Linden, and the rest of the classes are online.
Oh, okay. So you're not constantly traveling over to Burlington?
No, which is actually really helpful, especially for someone in my position.
Yeah, for sure. So how long have you held your current position as assistant librarian? Is assistant librarian?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, for 4 years.
You've had this for 4 years, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to believe that IROC's been gone that long, hasn't it?
It really has.
Yeah.
It goes by fast.
Yeah, it certainly does. So what are the specific classes that you need to take? And so it's a certification you're working for.
Right, so there's 6 classes.
Okay. And do they have, like, what are the specific names of the classes?
There's a management of library media science.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. There's a MARC records. There's one that handles Dewey Decimal Systems.
Oh, they're still using that. Okay.
Yeah, and actually they still are, and it's amazing because a lot of people are so familiar with that when they come in, if you explain how to use the system, they're like, oh, I used to use that when I was younger.
Oh, yeah. That goes way back.
Is that something that you used when you were?
Oh, definitely. And, well, when I was in school, and I graduated from high school in 1969, yeah, they were using it back then. That was like the Dark Ages, the Stone Age. You know how that is. So, what had you been doing? Did you go from IROC right into this, or was there something in between?
I had worked at Newport Pediatrics in Newport near the hospital, and it was more of a scheduling coordinator, and there was kind of like an office manager position. So just kind of taking care of the doctor's schedules and scheduling meetings, scheduling patients, just handling different things that the office needed assistance with. So I was there for 6 years.
You were there for 6 years? Oh, okay. So you had quite a run of it in between this position and IROC then? Or were you doing that at the same time as IROC?
I was doing that actually at the same time as IROC.
Oh, okay.
So during the week I'd work, and then on the weekends I'd work.
Was there, Newport Pediatrics, there were several doctors that you scheduled for?
There was 3.
It was 3 doctors?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that worked out really well. And then I would go to IROC, and it was nice because you would get to meet different people, and some people would be at the office, and then they'd go to IROC, and they'd just be happy to see you and comfortable with asking you questions or working with you.
That's sort of why I met you, because I definitely wouldn't meet you at Newport Pediatrics.
Right.
Not now, anyways. So, how far along are you in the process of getting your certification?
So I've taken one class. I have 5 more to go. I start one on January 23rd.
Okay.
I'll take one in the summer, and then I would have 3 left to take.
Okay, and do you know what the name of the next class is that you're going to be taking?
There's Mark Records, something with Mark Records. I don't have the list in front of me. I apologize.
Yeah, and I know when I went back to college the second time in the 90s and redid this, and actually, did it the right way, I happened to notice, and you might have noticed this too, every class has a title this long.
Yeah.
It used to be history, or it used to be geography. Now it's this and this and this and this and this, and the title's about this long. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. You'd think they'd be a little shorter, but I guess they have to keep the descriptions up.
I know. I used to get a kick out of this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So you're going to be starting late January. You're starting another class.
Yes.
Now, is this in Linden? Is this online, or where?
This is again another hybrid class through a UVM.
Oh, UVM. Okay.
There's a different instructor, but it sounds like the last class there was a lot of reading, and you would have to post different thoughts online and then have a discussion on the discussion board with other students that were taking the class. It sounds like there'll still be a discussion board, but it sounds like it's going to be more hands-on. So I'll be interested to see where they go with that.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, it sounds like it's exciting for you. I mean, I hope you're really enjoying this.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's some of the stuff I already know. So some of it's a little repetitive, but then just gives me a different insight to how it actually started, as opposed to where, as being a library assistant, you learn stuff, but you might not learn everything that you would need to know as a librarian. Okay,
and. It's nice that you're able to take, like I said, some classes online also. Mm-hmm. Is this one online or not?
So there's 12 classes, and then 2 of them I'm at UVM, first and last class at UVM. 3 of them I go to Linden, and the rest are online. Mm-hmm. So that's actually really helpful because I don't have to travel every weekend.
Well, that makes things kind of convenient, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot more convenient.
When about did you decide that this was what you really wanted to do, and scheduling doctors wasn't it?
I'd probably say a few years ago I decided that I had to find something that would be beneficial for having a family. Mm-hmm. And so this position had come about, and the hours seemed to be better, and the time off during the year, there were scheduled vacations, and having summers off seemed to work really well. So I checked to see if that would work with my schedule and finances, and everything actually seemed to work out very well, so I had accepted the position when offered it from Lake Region.
Okay, and who was it that offered you the position? Was there anybody in particular, anybody specific?
The librarian at the time, Erica Adams.
Oh, okay.
So that worked out really well. We met a few times, and it was nice to meet people on the board, and so it worked out actually really well, and it's closer to home, so I'm not traveling as far. And
yeah, you don't live too far from Lake Region, do you?
No, probably about 7 minutes, so.
Oh, okay.
Not too bad of a drive.
Oh, no, yeah, and, it's really good, especially if you had to, say, for example, if you had to travel to Linden every day, especially in the winter, going up over the heights would be kind of nasty.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that if you don't have to.
Yeah, my stepdaughter works at Linden State, and there are times when she said it's pretty nasty going up over the heights, but that's good that you don't have to do that.
Well, yeah, you don't have to add too much time onto the day, which is good. And then once you're done, then you leave and you come home and start another day the next day.
When you finish all your classes, is there like a graduation ceremony, or do you need to take a test, or are you automatically certified, or how does that work?
I believe the certification after those 6 classes, you just would get the certification. Mm-hmm. For myself, because I don't have a teaching license, I would end up having to take a praxis test. And there's one other class, which I'm taking right now, that I'd have to take, human development. And so I'm working on that at this time. It's a 4-week class that I'm taking through the University of Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
So
are you actually working towards a degree?
It's not really a degree because I already have a bachelor's degree in business.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That's what my next question was going to be is, do you have a degree?
Yeah, I do. I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and I ended up now, because of the current position, wanting to take this certification. Now, if I continued after the certification of taking the 3 or 6 classes, I could end up taking 4 more classes and I could get my master's in
Excellent.
library and media science. And we can just see where we're at and go from there.
That sounds like it'd be fun and challenging for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would. I think, we'll just see where we're at because life is pretty busy at this time.
Yes, because you just became a mom, didn't you?
Exactly. A 10-month-old, he keeps me very busy, so.
Yeah, now he was born, what was it, in February?
Yes, February 19th. So.
Okay. All right, so the way this all works out for you is you can be a mom, and it was, and I remember when I was taking classes at Johnson State also, they sort of catered to people that had families and then had to work and all that, so you could continue your education.
Absolutely. Well, the specifics with this especially is they have them on Saturdays, the classes, so that works for families. So if someone that does have a family and is working full time is able to take the classes and has that opportunity, as opposed to having a night class every Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever, so it seems to work out a lot better. So they are working toward catering to the families and people that are working full time, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Right now in your current position, so you're an assistant?
Yes.
Okay. What are your current duties as an assistant?
So checking in books, checking out books, organizing books, processing new books that come in, putting the stickers on them, the Dewey Decimal stickers, or fiction stickers, classifying them, sorting through the magazines that come in, managing the library. So when students come in, if there's a certain level of noise that needs to be throughout the library, just making sure that stays consistent, helping students find books, helping with technology. We have 18 desktops and 11 laptops. We have other, cameras, voice recorders, Kindles, updating the Kindle list. So we have, I think, over 500 Kindle titles at this time. So any new books that are purchased, updating them on a Google spreadsheet. So if someone asks, like yourself, do you have this book? I can look and say, yeah, I do actually. And here it's either on Kindle or it's in our system. So yeah, it's stayed pretty busy. There's not much downtime, but it's nice. I formed a lot of good relationships with students and made it so they understand where we're coming from. This is the library. This is the rules you need to follow. And sometimes students might be asked to leave if they're not able to follow those rules. But normally, people want to be in the library because that's kind of the happening place.
Yeah, and so. Other than the stuff that's online now, things haven't really changed radically. But I mean, there's probably a lot more. You said that there's Kindles, and there's obviously books you can get online.
Yep. So with the Kindles, so we have, I think, 30 Kindles, and then each of the Kindles has a certain book on it, and we could purchase more of that one book to put on, more Kindles if need be. But normally if someone wants a book, then here, I can get it for you on Kindle if they're okay with that. But there's quite a few people that actually really enjoy reading from an actual physical book. They don't want to read the Kindles because they like to open the pages and smell the new book scent, and so it's actually very interesting because if you asked how many people like this, it's just interesting to hear, yeah, no, I don't want it on Kindle, I want the real hard copy.
It's nice to know that magazines and books are still around and that it hasn't all gone to digital, because almost everything now, for example, applications even, it's all online now. Nobody wants to do anything with paper anymore.
Of course. But no, we do have the newspapers and magazines that students read, teachers read, so that works out well. And if people want to look up stuff, they have the computers that they can access in order to do that.
How are your duties going to change once you become head librarian?
So with the head librarian, you would still manage the library, but then you would be managing a library assistant. So you would have to have tasks and duties, scheduled ahead of time. These are things I'd like to accomplish. These are things I need you to help me with. But with that, I think it's important to always make something that you ask someone else to do something you can do. So they're on the same team. Also, I'd be in charge of a budget, ordering books, ordering the software, ordering supplies that we need for the library. There would be weeding books that I would have to do. So after a certain period of time, some of the information in the books isn't valid. So you'd need to, take those books and recycle them. The reference books, making sure those are up to date. We have databases that students can look up information on for research projects, and making sure all the databases that we have are current and what we need to use, because things over time change. Making sure to welcome the kids into the library and working with students that need to find information, and if I don't have an answer, maybe asking another librarian, getting that information and relaying it to the student.
So you're going to be, so when you get this position, when your education is finished and you get your certification, you're going to be like a team leader of sorts.
Correct.
And I think that's important, and I think you will do very well with this, because if you're going to have somebody do a job, you should at least be able to tell them how to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's important. The librarian before was the same, was able to explain, this is what I needed to do, can you do that? And if, was there any questions during the transition of learning how to do it? And if there are, what are they? Let's get it taken care of. Or if there's a better way to do it, let me know. So that really works. And then making sure books in the library that we have are current. Any new releases, students might ask for them, or if I see something that would be interesting, or something that students would want to read, ordering it. So
now, do you archive old books, or are they recycled?
We have a few that might be more Vermont based that might not be out on the shelves just because they're in a delicate condition, but most of the books, if we're not able to use them, we do find a good home for them. So we might check in with nursing homes, or I've looked online, done a few things where we've sent books away, but it's one of those things that sometimes with that information, you have to be careful what information you give to people, because if it's not current and is dated 20 years ago, you don't want that going out and circulating. So
yeah, for research projects that would be extremely important. But if somebody just wanted an old book,
right, then that would be fine.
Yeah. So is there somebody that's going to come into your position when you move up?
There would be a person that they would hire as the library assistant.
But that hasn't happened yet?
No. And in the spring they will have an interview for the librarian position, and then at that time, if I qualify, then they would do an interview, but if I do qualify, then I might be able to get that position, which would be wonderful.
Okay. So on any given day, how many students come into that library?
Well, there's 8 periods throughout the day, so probably, I'd say, maybe 100, maybe 120. It just depends. And sometimes they're the same students. So during the lunch periods, 4, 5, and 6, it's very busy. So you probably have, 20 to 30 students in during that time. It just depends on the period, and if people have eaten, and once they've eaten, then they might come up to do some research or work on homework, or collaborate with their friends on projects. So
also, I know that the 2 local libraries that I have dealt with, the Goodrich and the Daily, they can get books on interlibrary loan. Is that something that you guys can do also?
Yes. Yep, we can do that. So if there's something specific someone's looking for, so we don't have it, we can contact another librarian.
So this statewide or say national?
I think it's statewide. I'm not sure about national. That would be something I'd have to look into, but I think it's more statewide.
Have you ever had any? Have you ever come across somebody that wanted something really esoteric that you really had to go out and dig and try to find?
Not at this time. I haven't, but I'm sure years ago, without having like internet, people would probably, hey, I want this book. Can you find it for me? So
How have the duties of a head librarian changed over the years? Because we talked briefly about the Dewey Decimal System, and I was actually kind of surprised that you're still using that. But how has this changed over the years, Faith?
Definitely now there's a lot more technology that's involved, well, especially in our library. With research projects, you're looking up on databases, which that's something that you have to purchase. So that's been added into the budget. The technology, we have 11 laptops that we loan out during the day to students, which normally they stay in the library, but they might be working on a project with their friends. So that's something that, you know, the technology aspect has moved up. Some classes require kids to use a camera, so they might come in and borrow a camera or a voice recorder for a project. So that's something that you have to be up on the times with what's going on with technology and finding the best way to use this device and knowing how to use it. Because if I can't tell the student how they can use it to record something or to take off a voice recording or pictures that they've taken, it's not going to be helpful. So really making sure that anything that you have in the school you're able to help with, or finding a way to learn. We do have a tech office that people, if they need the techs to help with a computer issue or a printer might not be working, we would go to them in their office is right in the library. So we're able to, anytime I can learn something new, I go in and I say, hey, I'm not sure how to do this, can you guys help me? And so that's something I think that's really important, being open to learning new technology or new ways to do things.
And as we all know, technology keeps changing all the time.
Absolutely.
So you just said something that piqued my interest, and that was purchasing databases. Explain that, because I haven't heard that one. So
there's certain things that you're able to research online.
Oh, okay.
So if you had certain history questions, there would be a database that would have information on history and this person and when they were born and, you know, what they did for their life and then when they, you know, died. So just kind of interesting stuff that you can find without having to open up, you know, a reference book and look back for however many years. But you still can do the reference book. It's just more information is accessible online to use.
Okay,
so.
Sure. And with today's technology, obviously that presents some issues that librarians from 20, 30 years ago didn't have. Yeah. Correct?
Oh, absolutely.
You've really got to stay on top of this, don't you?
Absolutely. And then you might find that there's more issues, you know, here, this isn't printing, this isn't, I'm trying to type, this isn't working. So you've got to maybe a little more troubleshooting than, okay, let's go find this book and, you know, so I think it works itself out, but at the same time, I think a main thing is being, realizing that this job is going to be ever-changing. You're not just going to be, okay, I'm going to be a librarian and this is all I'm going to do. You're going to have to know technology. You're going to have to know how to access information. You're going to have to be able to order certain books that will, depending on what students that you're working with, is going to appeal to them.
So, in other words, you're never going to be bored with this one?
Never going to be bored.
Because as we know, technology, it changes all the time.
Absolutely.
And but the nice thing about it is you've got access to so much now.
Absolutely. There's a lot of access to the information that we have, and then you just have to figure out what channels you want to use that. You know, what do we really need for the library? What's going to be appropriate, and go from there.
Now, here's something that I just thought of. When I was doing research on the book that I wrote back for college in the 1990s, they had a thing called InfoTrack, and it was a CD-ROM that held newspaper and magazine articles. Is that still around, or is that gone?
I don't have it at the library, but I know when I went to college, that was something they did have. Some of it might be online. That would be something I'd have to research. But I know when I went to college, 12, 15 years ago, something like that, they did have that information, and you had to go in with a little microfiche film and go look at it. And so that was they had that information, which was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I remember those things. It was everything was on microfilm.
Yeah.
And then they came out with, like I said, the CD-ROMs and things like that. And those I thought were pretty good. But now you can just access everything online, more or less.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you could get into, say, if somebody really was digging for some very, very in-depth information about something, could you access or yeah, could you get into an access library at UVM or Dartmouth or someplace like that?
You can. I think sometimes there's permissions that you have to have, so you could connect with that library and say, hey, these are the things I'm looking for. Is there any way to access your information? And then, I think, again, just making sure those permissions are in place. You should be able to do that. But
have you ever had to go that route into some big university?
At this time I haven't, but I'm sure down the road, there'll be something that I'll have to be prepared for.
I think you should contact UCLA every once in a while.
Absolutely.
Or
check
Harvard
in,
or someplace like that.
See what they need. Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll probably say, where are you?
Where are you? Well, Northeast Kingdom.
So do you have anything you'd like to share with us before we go?
I think I'm good. I think, if there are any questions, just let me know, and I'm sure we could answer them for you.
Well, I'd like to say it was great having you on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I think it's a fascinating, field. You go into a library now, it's not like it used to be. Now you've got so much more at your disposal. You've got computers everywhere, and you can get your hands on more things. As a matter of fact, if somebody wanted a book, they could actually look it up on Amazon, and then say, "Oh, this is the number, and this is the information," and they could go ask you for it, couldn't they?
They could, which is nice. And depending, then people really figure out what they want. But I think the key is making sure you have the keywords or key information to find the stuff that you're looking for.
Now, are they still using ISBN numbers?
Yes.
They're still using those?
The ISBN numbers, yeah, that's how you would, when we process a book, you could use that as opposed to just the title to enter it into our database system in order to make it so it's part of our library. So there's a certain software program we use, and then by entering the ISBN number, and then we have a 6-digit code, I think it is, that we end up putting on the book, so then we can check it in and check it out. So yeah, the ISBN numbers are still being used.
As a matter of fact, there's a book that I've been looking around for. I may just ask you for it.
All right. Well, you just let me know, and we'll have to see if we can get it for you.
I could pass as a high school student, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yes. If a blind person was there, yes, maybe. Faith, it's been great. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you very much, Terry, for your time.
I'm hoping we can have you on again sometime.
Sounds good.
Until next time, this is Terry Difazio for Dial It Up. We'll see you on the flip side. Have a good day.